Welcome to They Live for Horror podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jared, and sitting next to me, my longtime friend, horror movie buff.
Oh,
That's right.
we're here.
We are definitely here. We're not on another plane of existence off in the middle of nowhere where there's a pyramid in the distance and rain clouds above us. Today we talk about the 2016 Lovecraftian horror movie, The Void. Thank you. Timed it perfectly. The Void. This movie stars probably people you've never heard of. Aaron Poole, Kathleen Monroe, Kenneth Welsh, to name a few. Written and directed by Jeremy Gillespie and Steven Kostanski, who... Have you watched Psycho Gorman yet?
Not yet.
Fucking goddamn it. I told you now like 17 times to watch Psycho Gorman.
I know.
That one's also written and directed by Steven Kostanski. I hope I'm saying that right. Budget. Didn't actually have listed as a budget. I know this was partially crowdfunded, but I know it was under $1 million. Did not do great in the box office, less than $500,000 at the box office, but it has since made its money back, according to the studio and according
That's got to sting a little bit.
Oh, it never got a wide release. I don't think they really thought that the box office itself would ever actually make that money back. It's all been VOD and it's worked. According to the studio and Steven Kostanski, it has made its money back. This movie, I know we've covered this before, but like I said, we wanted to go back and go over some of the stuff we've done. I got you into this movie.
Yes, you did.
I said, Tom, you need to watch this movie. My wife and I have probably seen this movie 30, 40 times. Together.
I'm near 20.
Yeah. We forced our friend Scotty, who happens to be sitting in the studio with us today, to watch it. No, have you watched it yet, Scotty?
No.
Get the fuck out of the studio.
Go.
Get out. You're gone.
Sorry.
Banned for life.
That's Scotty leaving.
Didn't even trail off. Terrible sound effects. We have no budget for this podcast though, so I mean maybe you know what? Do it again. Get out, Scotty. There he goes. That's the door closing.
Yep. He's gone. No sign of him.
The idea behind this movie, so there's this... By the way, this movie starts off like a fucking shot in the night, man. It immediately grabs a hold of you. You just hear gunshot blasts from a house. Dude comes running off into the woods. They light somebody on fire. And you're like, what the fuck?
That's my pick and nits right there.
Hold on. We'll get there. The movie based around the sheriff of a small town. They end up at a hospital that's closing down. So only like a quarter of the hospital is usable. Very bare bones cast. Not a lot of people in this movie. One trivia fact is eventually, blah, blah, blah. If you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to hear spoilers, why are you listening to this podcast?
Yep.
Watch the movie, then listen to this podcast. So there's a cult.
Yep.
And they start showing up at the hospital when weird shit starts happening at the hospital. But the fun fact, I think you pointed this out to me, is all of those cult members, they show a bunch of them. It's like the same two people just used over and over again in post. Yeah. Interesting way to do that.
It is.
When you have no money to make a movie.
When they lift the blade, they all lift the blade.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
It was almost like they were synchronized, like you were supposed to be, but no, it's all the same person.
Yeah.
The same two people. This movie was supposed to have Roddy Piper in it, in the role of...
Is he the father?
Yeah, as the father of the boy who has that big wound on his neck. It ends up being played by Daniel Fathers, interesting enough. And his name is just the father in the movie, Daniel Fathers. That part was actually supposed to be played by Roddy Piper. Unfortunately, Roddy Piper passed before they could do production of the movie. Probably the most well-known actor in this movie is Kenneth Welsh, who's done a bunch of horror movies and other movies. He was in Twin Peaks. He was in The Fog. He plays an amazing Dr. Richard Powell, thank you. And you don't find out until about halfway through the movie that he's the villain of the movie.
That's true. He plays it kind of like in Hellraiser, our last episode.
Yeah.
How that guy plays something nice.
Yeah, except there isn't like
he doesn't really
a mentality switch.
No.
Forced on him. He's just that way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
The hospital used in this film was actually a former high school.
Yeah.
Up in Ontario, Canada. This entire movie was shot and produced in Canada. And Steven Kostanski is a Canadian filmmaker.
Oh.
And as part of the rule for making movies in Canada, you have to have a certain percentage of your cast be Canadian actors or actresses.
Oh, okay.
So a few of these actors are actually Canadian actors.
Including Kenneth.
Yep.
Yeah.
The movie tagline for this was, "There is a hell, this is worse."
It fits.
Yep. Steven Kostanski actually used that for one of his short films in college. That same exact line. He just repurposed it for this movie.
Cool.
We'll get to it in your picking nits. It's something I found out in my research of this movie. I'll bring up my picking nits as well. But to continue into this movie, there is some of the greatest practical effects horror, which is why I love it so much. You and I are out on CGI and horror.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. Other than I think there's some really good stuff in. I'm trying to think the name of the movie. Insidious. There's some good stuff in Insidious that's CGI based. But like, did you ever see the remake or the ends up being a prequel, but the remake of The Thing from like 2012? Did you ever watch that?
I think I have. Yeah.
The CGI in that is so bad.
Okay.
And it ruins it. It just fucking, it's not as good, man.
Okay.
Because of that. This movie, almost all practical effects. Same with Psycho Gorman, which is why I keep telling you need to watch Psycho Gorman. Don't go in thinking it's as scary as The Void.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not a horror movie. But it is fucking graphic and gory and hilarious and fucking awesome.
Excellent.
I'm only using The Void, one of my all-time favorite horror movies, to now get you to watch, everyone to watch Psycho Gorman. I get no residuals or kickbacks from the creators of Psycho Gorman. As a matter of fact, I actually have a restraining order against me from Steven Kostanski because I won't leave him alone. That's not true.
That is true.
It is. Why are you back here, Scotty? Get out! Go watch The Void. Yeah, run away, bitch. All right, we'll get to our categories. Again, if you haven't seen the movie, we're not just going to go point for point from the plot. Just know, fucking crazy-ass special effects. The basement scene, we'll get to the categories in a second, but like, what?
Yeah.
The fucking basement scene. That scene is the scariest scene of any movie of the last 15 years.
That's true.
It's fucking that. It's between that and the remake of The Evil Dead for me when it comes to like stuff that I have sometimes trouble watching. You ever watch a movie, you're fine, and the next time you watch it, you're like, you know what, this is kind of bugging me a little bit.
Oh,
Jared, Jared, were you too high watching that? Shut up. Might have been on some mind-altering substances. You don't know me.
Yeah.
You don't know my life. For legal purposes, that's a joke. Satire, folks. Like when Tom shouts about wanting to bomb, buildings. It's just all satire. Most what the fuck moment, I'm going to say it, the start of the movie. When you start a movie lighting a human being on fire, that's a what the fuck moment. How about for you?
Most what the fuck moment?
Yeah.
Is that thing banging its head against...
Oh, the pipe in the basement?
Yeah.
Because they can't die?
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole point of this movie is the doctor cannot stand the idea of death. And he wants to defeat death.
Yeah.
I don't know where the cult comes in. Like, the cult doesn't really seem like it's part of the plot, really, other than to keep them in that hospital.
Yeah.
There's definitely... Look, don't watch this movie and try to break down the plot.
Picking nits.
Yeah, we'll get there. But there's definitely holes in the plot of this movie.
There are.
That you can drive a truck through.
Yeah.
But also, at the same time, I like when things aren't over-explained.
That is true.
So, it's like... Some movies over-explain a plot to death. In this case, I feel like this movie benefits from it not being...
Other what the fuck moment is the pregnant chick slitting her grandpa's throat.
Yeah, when she just like out of nowhere you find out she's part of the cult. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Home? Yeah, that was on my list also as another what the fuck moment. That one or Nurse Barb becoming that like monster thing that kills the highway. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Beverly, the one that goes on and kills the highway patrolman.
Yeah.
Let's touch on that for a moment. Why was the highway patrolman such a dick?
I don't know, man.
So in the movie...
What would your father say if you saw this shit show?
The sheriff,
that
deputy...
Sounds like him, right?
Yeah, nailed it. Actually, I was like, is he in the room? But the sheriff has to shoot that lady because she like comes at him after she cut her face off.
Yep.
She cuts her own fucking face off and charges at him with a goddamn scalpel and he shoots her. And then they fucking... highway patrolman acts like it's like the worst thing in the world. Motherfucker, I was about to get scalpeled by a woman without a face, so fuck what you do.
Yeah.
What would your father think of this shit show? Sorry, my impression wasn't as good as yours. I get it. Also, you find out that the nurse and the sheriff had a miscarriage.
Oh, yep.
And that
yep.
kind of ruined their marriage. And that could be hard on a marriage.
At the start, the cop is trying to go anywhere but that little town.
Yeah, that's true. He didn't want to go to that hospital knowing she was working there.
Yeah.
But then they kind of like reconnect, and it's kind of a sweet moment. The Rotten Tomato score for this, I'm not happy with.
I'm not
78% with critics. I like that. 47% with audiences. I need more fucking audiences, more people to watch this and go rate this, because this is a travesty that is 47%.
It's true.
I'm gonna find anybody who gave that a bad rating and punch him in the cock.
Yep.
Or clam.
In the clam.
Right, clam slam.
Almost got me to spit my drink up there.
Did this movie actually scare you? Yeah, I've been scared by this movie. There's jump scares and there's actual just like creepy shit in this movie that scared me. I'm not gonna lie, you know. As much as a movie can scare me now as an adult.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like the scenarios in this movie. I don't want to be trapped in a fucking hospital with weird creatures that can't be killed without fire.
I don't want to be trapped in a hospital.
That's a good point.
Don't even put me.
That's a great plot point. I can't think of a whole lot of horror movies that have taken place primarily in a hospital, but all of them pretty scary.
True.
The what was that one? The Possession of Mary Jane.
Okay.
Not Mary Jane. Jane Doe. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Where it turns, you know what? Almost ruined the end of that movie. I almost just gave away the entire spoiler alert for that movie, so we're not going to. If you haven't seen The Possession, I think it's The Possession of Jane Doe. Pretty good movie. Who stole the show for you? For me, I mean, it's got to be The Doctor.
For me, it's The Father.
Yeah, I just watched that though and wish it was Roddy Piper.
That's true.
For me, it's Kenneth Welsh. So his voice is so good. He reminds me.
That's true.
Yeah, his voice is so spot on. And he's just so creepy. That telephone.
Oh, where he's calling for the
Hello,
Lord?
Daniel.
Yeah.
Have you ever, when he lost his daughter, like the whole idea around the doctor doing this because he lost his daughter and he's got to cheat death, and then there's that weird scene where the nurse is on the hospital bed and she's got like creatures growing in her stomach.
Yeah.
And that's a heart-wrenching moment when Richard has to, or Daniel has to go in there.
Yep.
And do that. That's a tough scene. That could have also been in What the Fuck moments.
It is.
But yeah, for me, it's the Dr. Richard. It's Welsh. The actor is so good in this role. Reminds me a lot of Ben Kingsley.
Okay.
Just his voice. Those two voices are so close to me. Not Ben Kingsley. Who played Dr. Loomis in Rob Zombie's Halloween?
McDowell?
Yeah, Michael McDowell. Thank you. That's who I was thinking
I
of.
confused the two. Actually.
Yeah, they look similar and sound
do.
similar.
Yeah.
Like Kenneth Welsh is like great value brand.
He's the Canadian version.
There you go. Well, actually, we don't know if he's from Canada or not. The other
Kenneth
one.
Welch. Oh, true. Yeah.
I already forgot his name again. I'm so bad with names. Michael McDowell. I'm great with names, and then I'm awful with names. It's weird. I'm one or the. It's like 50-50 for me. I can remember a name of like an obscure actor from an 80s movie, and then I will not even remember like which one is that? Is that Matt Damon? Speaking of that, like my wife can't watch the Departed because she thinks Leonardo DiCaprio and Matt Damon look too much alike in that movie. So she gets very confused.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Totally unrelated. I'm sorry. Best kill.
When the brain's popping out of that monster.
Hell yeah.
And he's having a hard time, of course, getting the rifle loaded. And
Yep.
bam, gets it.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. And then
Yeah.
trying to think what else. When the little
I like when the
creature.
patrol guy dies, too.
Oh, the Howard Patrolman?
Yeah. Gets dragged off.
He was up there for me, and also when
And they
the
cut
wall.
his fucking head off, right?
Yeah, they had to cut his head off.
The father does.
Yeah, they had to cut his head
Yeah.
off. Otherwise, he'd become one of those fucking things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one, or when the walls close in on the beast at the creature at the very end is really cool. Dude, they fucking put that thing like thousands of holes in that thing. They light that thing on fire and it still won't fucking die.
Yeah.
And then the portal closes and it crushes it behind it, and then the guy who can't talk hooks up with the Asian chick who just hid in a cupboard.
It's implied that she killed something with a fire hydrant.
Yeah, she hit one of the cult members.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What role would you have Sid Haig play? This used to be the category of would Sid Haig work in this movie. Absolutely works in every movie. So now we've just changed to what role would you have? I have mine. I bet we agree, but I want to hear yours.
Probably the grandpa.
Oh shit!
Or
See,
the
we
doctor.
disagree. I was gonna say the father.
The father.
He might
Okay.
be a little older for that. He might be a little too old
True.
for that role. Because we're thinking, whenever we say Sid Haig, I think we're both thinking of either Henry Sid Haig or House of a Thousand Corpses Sid Haig, right? Is that who you're
Well,
thinking
he's
of?
not in Henry. Remember?
He's in Henry.
He's not. It's the guy that plays the sheriff in Devil's Rejects.
No.
Pretty sure.
Well, anyways, what role? You said Grandpa?
Yeah, the grandpa. Yep.
Yeah, I could see him being crotchety and old and angry. And just good enough in that role.
Mm-hmm. But picturing him as the father is pretty cool.
Damn it, you're right again. It was not Sid Haig. Why do I always think that's Sid?
They look a lot alike.
They do. My bad.
They could
Well,
be
anyways.
brothers for all we know.
Yeah, we're thinking like, but we're both thinking
Yeah.
Spalding Sid Haig.
But we got to remember he's been an actor for
50 years,
Yeah.
40 years. Yeah, I mean, so I would say the father or, the sheriff would work. He's a little old for sheriff, but Grandpa would work really well.
I guess he could have been the
Highway
sheriff.
patrolman.
Yeah. That would have been cool.
That's a real shit show you got here, Daniel. Let's see what your father would think of this shit show, Daniel. Could you remake this as a Netflix series? No. No, it wouldn't work.
I don't even see a second Void.
No, I don't either.
Um,
Tom.
I mean, there's. What are they doing on the other side at the end? I don't know.
I have heard Steven Kostansky say that he's thought of sequel ideas, but he doesn't see one happening just because this movie did not do well financially enough.
I think a second one would do better though.
Probably because the first one has that cult following.
Yeah,
But sort of
don't
like
go see it.
it's returning that investment though, because like if you look at Boondock Saints, everybody wanted a Boondock Saints sequel. Everybody.
Everyone.
And it was like this
So
cult
much
following. It
cited.
grew so big, and then they do the sequel, and it was a huge disappointment for the fan
It was
base.
terrible.
It was okay, but like
No, it wasn't.
it was okay. It was okay.
The
Wasn't great.
Rocco scenes were cool, and the backstory.
You
to
needed Rocco.
El Duce was cool.
I think you don't even realize that they didn't realize you needed Rocco in
Yeah.
that movie.
Yeah, they
And the
should've.
bartender. Why don't you make like a leap and fuck off? Tom's picking nits. We both got some picking nits for this movie.
Yeah, I've got a couple. The main one being you can't light someone up with a cigarette.
Yeah, Mythbusters sort of ruined that, didn't they?
Yeah. The other one I have is where'd the cult people go? I was hoping for like a big shootout at the end with them and the stabby cult people.
Yeah, it was like they were all trapped after that, after the portal closed when he
Yeah.
pushed the doctor through it. I still don't understand how pushing the doctor through the pyramid
anything.
portal and closed the portal. There's so much not explained in this movie,
Yeah.
which is probably the biggest picking nit there is.
What is your pick in there?
Just don't overthink the movie. I'll get there in a second. Just don't
Okay.
overthink this movie and you'll love it.
Yeah.
You'll love it. It's so good. They don't over-explain anything. They actually don't explain very much.
They don't even over music it.
No.
You know, they let it be scary.
Yeah, it is one of those movies. It's like It Follows was the same way. Not a lot of music in It Follows. Almost no CGI. Wow, I think you and I both enjoyed The Void and It Follows, and those are two movies that you could put those movies in the 80s and they would work.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of modern horror you couldn't do that with. And even The Conjuring had a bunch of bullshit CGI in it.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, when she becomes possessed, it's all
Oh,
CGI possession
yeah.
and stuff. The stuff flying across the room is done not even like with practical effects. It's literally CGI stuff getting
Oh,
thrown across
man.
the room. Yeah, so that just... I think you and I are in agreement. Practical effects.
Yeah.
Give me more of, that stuff than...
Those
what-
monsters are incredible.
Yeah. Fucking
And they're
amazing.
Completely, fabricated.
Yep.
Or whatever.
Yeah, they do a really good job of lighting too, to avoid you seeing the stitching and all the not good, the parts of the special effects. I watched some stuff on how they did it, and they said they really relied on lighting to hide the fact that these monsters didn't look that scary in real life. Like when you're up close, if you really break it down, it would not look great. That's why in the hallway scene where the highway patrolman gets killed, it's that strobe light, it's that flashing light. You can't really see much.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's fire, and then in the basement it's red lit.
Yeah.
And it's really dark, and there's
Dude,
aspects you
that
can't
adds to
see.
it.
It does. It makes it literally look like hell.
Seeing all the creatures that Dr. Powell's created.
Yep, people that just can't
cheat
die.
death.
Yep. There is no worse fate in my mind than not being able to die. Sitting there trying to kill yourself and you fucking can't.
Yeah.
That would be the worst.
That would be terrible.
That creature just keeps hitting its head against that pipe and driving its brain out of the back of its head, and it just keeps doing it, but it won't fucking die.
Yeah.
A couple things I just did not understand. Oh, yes, picking nits. My biggest picking nits is this is kind of a ripoff of a cult classic done by John Carpenter called Prince of Darkness.
Okay.
Yeah, there's serious similarities between the two films. Characters under siege by a cult, confined to an environment containing a supernatural entity, and a portal to another world in which the main character has to sacrifice themselves to close it. Didn't realize it until I recently watched Prince of Darkness, and I'm like, The Void kind of took this.
Comes up, after you've watched The Void, it pops up as a suggested movie.
Oh, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And as much as like every
Goddamn,
movie,
motherfucker.
Jim Cornette. But then it's like, well, what is an original story anymore? Like, did they really rip it off? I mean, watch any Tarantino movie, he's just taking it from something he's watched.
Yeah.
So like, if you took Prince of Darkness and you watched it back to back with The Void, you'd be hard pressed though to say that this is the same movie. Like, no. These monsters are totally different than those monsters. It's well done. I just said it's a picking nit because it's like, wow, you really did just lift a shit ton of plot points from Prince of Darkness. It'd be interesting to sit down and talk to Jeremy Gillespie and Steven Kostanski and ask them if that was a huge influence on
for sure.
on them making this movie. I mean, John Carpenter and excuse me, like Wes Craven, like they always complain about people stealing their stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But one thing I wanted to point out was near the beginning of the movie, a patient is watching Night of the Living Dead. They said that's an homage to Night of the Living, like a wink and a nod to their hero George A. Romero. The other thing is it's free. It's free to use Night of the Living Dead in any movie you watch. In any movie you make, you can have Night of the Living Dead running in the background.
Oh.
Because George A. Romero doesn't own the rights to it. Nobody owns the rights to it. It's free use. He accidentally didn't copyright it.
Wow.
So he never saw. George A. Romero's talked about this. He didn't see very much money from Night of the Living Dead, but what made him famous was the fact that you could just reprint that movie and play it at midnight movie theaters across the country. That's how that movie became huge. This movie that had like an $8,000 budget and was done for nothing by essentially a film student and his friends in Pittsburgh became one of the biggest cult classic, created a genre of movie, the zombie movie, because it was free. You could just print it and play it at your movie theater.
That's cool as hell.
So George A. Romero then said that because of that, he was able to do all the rest of his movies. So he's like, part of me wishes I got the, millions that have come from that movie. But at the same time, it's this idea like Queen talks about this, the band Queen, how the licensing for Queen music is cheaper than almost every other rock band as big as them because they want to stay in the zeitgeist. They want to continue to be remembered. So if you watch commercials, so many commercials have Queen songs. So many movies have Queen songs. That's why. It's cheap to license that music. And it keeps Queen in your mind like so many times.
That's true.
The Beatles, it's very difficult to license Beatles music.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you look at the background of movies, any horror movie you watch, in the background's gonna be a black and white movie, because it's free to use those movies because they're so old. They're either so old they're now what's called free use, or they never got an actual trademark on it, like in the case of Night of the Living Dead. So just thought I'd point that out and go down that little history rabbit hole with you here.
Hell yeah.
The filmmakers say they intentionally leave out the Black Pyramid and much of the cult mystery for viewers to use their own imaginations to create their own explanation. Again, an idea that is lifted from H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Nothing is really that well explained by H.P. Lovecraft. So the fact that both Gillespie and Kostanski have said that Lovecraft is a huge influence of theirs tells you, like, sometimes you can consider it a cop-out. I don't know if you do, but, like, the word that is used primarily by H.P. Lovecraft in almost all the stories is unfathomable, unexplainable. Like, oh, so you're just being a lazy writer? Is that what's happening here? Or is he just literally leaving it up to your mind and what makes you specifically scared of something? Like, if I explain it as a spider, and I explain a spider to you, if you're not scared of spiders, you don't give a shit, right? It doesn't scare you. But if I just say it's this unspeakable creature with multiple legs moving upon you, like, oh shit, now you can play something that actually does scare you into your mind.
Yeah.
Where in this case, it's like, you know, what they don't show you or tell you is the scary part of the story. The final category, of course, is always, would you recommend this movie? We have this in here because sometimes you'll bring a movie that I haven't watched before, and or vice versa.
Mhm.
But in this case, we both watch it. It's probably one of our all-time favorite movies. So fucking watch it.
Watch it to death.
And then you get reinvited back into my house, Scotty. Stay outside, you sack of shit. You watched it yet? All right, so we're coming up to the half-hour mark here. We're coming to the end of this podcast. Again,
Yeah.
thank you, Suplex City Limits, for having us on the channel.
Hell yeah. I'm at 1OMSC.
It's true, he is. And I am at Funny Libertarian. And again, we're going to be back next month. But we're
Yeah.
going to hold off on what we're doing for this
Sure.
one. It's going to be a surprise. But you can go back through and listen to some of our archives on our YouTube channel.
Yep.
Some of our stuff's gone from that. All of our old stuff's gone from the Suplex City Limits channel. So in podcast form, this is the first they're hearing of The Void.
Yep.
And
and we're in the same room this time.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was our second episode. And we
Yeah.
used to do this over Skype.
Yep.
Before Zoom was even a thing. It was Skype.
True. That's true.
So here we are now live talking to each other about one of our all-time favorite movies. And
It's been a blast.
it was great. Thanks, buddy.
Hell yeah. Thank you.
I fucking hate Scotty now so goddamn much.